Welcome to the Afterwards, where we dissect life's dumpster fires and we pretend that we're fine. I'm your host, Maile Navarro, and if you're new here, congrats on finding a podcast that doesn't sugarcoat the shit show. Now, before you start thinking, great, another podcast about healing and personal growth, I want to be very clear here. I am not here to tell you to light a candle and to manifest your way out of an existential crisis. Light the candle if you want to, but let's be honest, it's not going to fix the fact that life handed you the spiritual equivalent of a pop quiz you didn't study for. Speaking of which, today we are diving into a few things: soul contracts, spiritual attacks, and soul tests, because apparently losing my son wasn't enough. The universe also needed to send me a passive-aggressive memo like, hey girl, you failed the first 10 tests. Oh yeah? Really? I failed? Because from where I'm standing, the test was rigged. Now, if you're like me and you've ever felt like life was just playing some elaborate joke on you, congratulations. You might be in the middle of what some of us like to call a soul test. Or maybe your soul signed up for something completely unhinged before making its way to Earth, and now you're stuck paying the price. I don't know who gave me the pen in this pre-birth negotiation, but I would just like to speak to the manager. So, grab your emotional support water bottles or that bottle of wine that you've been side-eyeing since 9 o'clock, because we're about to get spiritually weird. And no, this episode won't just be me screaming into a microphone, though honestly, it could be its own series. I want to unpack how all of this soul contract nonsense ties into my personal story, into losing Kingston, my awakening, and all of the ways that the universe has tried to make sure that I did not miss the memo this time. Buckle in, or don't. We're all floating in an existential chaos anyways. We'll start with soul contracts, because nothing says lighthearted podcast content like some agreement that you allegedly made before getting dumped into a human body. Specifically, I'm diving into the contract that Kingston and I clearly had. Spoiler alert, I think that his clause was change her entire existence, break her heart, and then haunt her in the most poetic way possible. Look, I did not always believe in this stuff. The woo soul contracts, if you told me a year ago that my son and I had made some cosmic deal to go through this exact life, through that crappy experience, I would have looked at you like, what girl? Say what? But after Kingston passed, I started connecting some dots, and holy hell, there were so many. So, if you're ready, come with me. We're gonna stumble through the cosmos like a ballerina who's had one too many margaritas. And before you ask, yes, I will still be making wildly inappropriate jokes at all of the wrong times, because that's just who I am as a person. By now, you're probably dying to know, what the hell is a soul contract? And why do I all of a sudden believe that Kingston and I somehow orchestrated this whole ride before we even got here? Both are excellent questions. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term, soul contracts are basically spiritual prenups. They're these agreements that are made before birth between two souls who are like, hey, let's go to Earth, fuck shit up, ruin each other, and call it spiritual growth. Allegedly, we pick our relationships, our biggest challenges, and even how we exit. Because sure, that sounds like a blast. Who actually believes in this? A lot of spiritual traditions, plus people who've had enough wine to start seeing signs everywhere. And of course, I talk to a medium, because apparently my coping mechanisms involve calling in a supernatural customer service. Is this a crazy idea? Maybe, but it's crazier than thinking that politicians have our best interest at heart. I think not. If this is true, and let's just pretend that it is for the sake of the episode, then Kingston and I sat down at some celestial Waffle House pre-incarnation and worked out this deal. I imagine it went something like this. Kingston said, okay, so I'm going to be your son, but I'm actually here to teach you unconditional love, resilience, and then I'm going to help you break some generational trauma. Me, ooh, cool, sounds deep. What do I do for you? Kingston says, mostly you're just going to love me like crazy, but then also you're going to have to go through the worst pain imaginable and then keep going. Me, I'm sorry, what? It's fine, I'll send you signs and birds and maybe some weird energy stuff. You won't understand it till later. Me, I'd like to renegotiate. Kingston's already out the door. Sorry, Mom, we already signed. Boom, bam, done. I wake up in a hospital bed in 2014 holding this tiny, perfect human who already looked at me like he knew everything about me, because he probably did. Okay, so soul recognition. It's before Kingston was even born, I knew him. I felt like I had already met him. Not creepy in a past life stalker kind of way, but more we have cosmic business to handle kind of way. And Kingston, that little enlightened weirdo, gosh, he always knew. He had it from the jump. He was always dropping hints, like leaving little breadcrumbs while I was over here waddling around like a penguin, stuck on the ground, super slow, fat. But Kingston was always fast, like the Michael Jordan of spiritual enlightenment. Me, just this flightless, clumsy penguin, always trying to keep up with him. There was always a message in plain sight, Kingston has the Michael Jordan poster, that Wings poster. It's been in his room for 7 years. On the bottom, by William Blake, it says, "No bird soars too high if he soars with his own wings." Kingston had asked for that poster when he was 4 years old, October 2018, right after we were finally reunited after I had been forcibly separated from him when I was banned from chalk. I remember when he picked it. We hung it up in whatever hospital room we were stuck in at the time, and from that day forward, I looked at that poster every single day for 7 years. And I thought that I knew what it said. I read the words. I saw the image. But somehow, in all that time it had been hanging there, I never really noticed that quote. Never. It had been right in front of my face for years, and I never saw it. It wasn't until after Kingston died, after he left, when all of the lights started flickering, after random numbers started popping up, 111, 444, after I started waking up at 2:23 a.m. night after night, till I finally saw it. No bird soars too high if he soars with his own wings. It was like Kingston had been trying to tell me this his entire life. Find your wings, Mom. Stop being such a freaking penguin. Energy, electricity, the cosmic wake-up call. What was Kingston into? Pokemon. Who were his favorite Pokemon? Charizard and Pikachu. Let's talk about Pikachu. What was Pikachu's power? Energy. It was energy, light, power, but most importantly, energy. It's all about energy. His obsession with electric-type Pokemon, that kid was practically screaming, "It's all about the effing energy, Mom. Wake up." Before Kingston was diagnosed with cancer, 4 months before Kingston had even started showing symptoms that something might be wrong, there was a man that had come to see me. It was the middle of the afternoon. The kids were napping, and I looked up, and this man had made his way into my house and was standing in the doorway of my bedroom. And he said, "I'm going to have to take the boy." It wasn't scary. He was just so matter of fact, like a cosmic Uber was arriving and I was missing the pickup location. Far before Kingston was even showing symptoms of being sick, I was being given signs. Something told me to prepare for that moment, and I ignored it. After he died, the number 11 and the number 23, everywhere. Clocks, license plates, receipts. At first I thought I was losing my mind. But no, it was just Bubby, literally texting me from the other side. "Still here, Mom. Check your stinking rear view." Kingston was my teacher. He had always been telling me to catch up. Always telling me how slow I was and how fast he was. Now, I thought he was being cocky, overconfident, because it took him a while to learn how to walk again. And here's where Ali Wong's got nothing on me, because my teacher was a 5-year-old little boy with a French fry addiction and access to the afterlife. Looking back, it was so blatantly obvious his entire life was about love. Unconditional love. Every person he met, everywhere he went, everyone mattered to him. He loved everyone. He loved life when life gave him the most unfair hand anyone I have ever known has been dealt. His death was the thing that shattered me and the thing that finally forced me to wake up. It's like the universe handed me a plastic spoon and said, "Go fix it, bitch." And I know now Kingston was sent here to do a job. He told me once. He told me, and I didn't believe him. He told me he was an angel, that he had been sent here to do a job, and he was almost done. That job was me. Even still, after all of the signs, after all that craziness, after the thousands of times I ignored the neon billboards that Kingston had basically set on fire, it finally happened. I saw him again. For the first time since he died, him and I were together. That day, I nodded off to sleep, and he met me in that place between asleep and awake. And after 2.5 months of being separated from each other, I had finally found my way back to him, just like he said I would, and we met in the space between. Before I had that dream, I felt like everyone else had been visited by him already. So when it finally happened for me, I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget any of the details. So I grabbed my phone and I recorded it. What I'm about to share with you is very raw and very emotional. This is me being vulnerable. I'm sharing it so that you can tap into how real it was for me. And yeah, maybe it does something for you too. So here we go. I had the most wild dream about Bubby. I've actually been nodding off Since I got home, I was just so tired. I kept falling asleep, but I kept waking myself back up. And I was in a hotel with Ryan and Annie. And I kept asking her if she knew what was going to happen. And she was asking me if I knew what was going to happen. And we were whispering to each other. We both said yes. And I was scared because there was something else. She told me in my dream to just go to sleep. And I was able to fall asleep in my dream. And then I was walking down the hallway. And I stopped. And I literally got butterflies. The person in my dream was me. It was just normal me. And I stopped and I looked up. And then the hallway. Take you down the hallway. I stopped and I looked up and with this humongous swan, he looked at me and I looked at him and I was so happy I dropped to my knees. And Bobby was sitting there with this big grin on his face, so proud of himself. And he said, "You did it." He said, "How many did they?" I said, "Bobby, you're here." I said, "You're gonna leave, aren't you? You're gonna leave. You're gonna go." And he said, "No, I can stay for a minute." Oh, and I took my breath away and I just hugged him. I hugged him so tight. It was so real. I said, "Are you okay?" And I touched his face and he was perfect. And he just kept smiling at me. And he hugged me back and he didn't leave me to go. And I just asked him over and over if he was okay and if this was real. And he said it's real. And he said he'll meet me again. And he was proud of me because he said, "You did it." I met him in my dream. He put me. And it was so crazy. Because I wasn't sad in my dream. I said, "I love you." He said, "I love you." We said, "We'll see each other." Oh. I look great. Because I was so proud of myself for being able to be. It's so funny. It worked. It worked. I knew it. You told me in my head for 3 days. I'm dizzy. I can't feel my face. You laughed at the shrine. You took me down the hallway. You took me down the hallway. I was wearing my Spurs jersey. The shirt he died in. But he was wearing my Spurs jersey and a pair of shorts. Just waiting for me. Just waiting for me. Just waiting. I woke up from that dream and I had this realization that I had been living my entire life half asleep. Ooh, that was a lot. Let's just take a minute, catch our breaths. Oh, yeah, that was the dream. If you can even call it a dream. Honestly, I had to stop recording right after that because I couldn't breathe. I was crying. I was shaking. I could not get my shit together. Not even a little bit. Because here's the thing that completely wrecked me. When I woke up, I didn't feel like I had had a dream. I felt like I had been somewhere. Like I had gone through a portal and Kingston had met me on the other side and was like, "Hey, Mom, glad you finally made it. Took you long enough." And what happened next? Just buckle up. Because this is where it gets full meltdown, meets spiritual breakdown, meets Scooby-Doo in a haunted house. I got out of bed and I went straight into Kingston's room. I don't even know what I was looking for. I was just moving. And then it hit me. Everything hit me. I started spinning in circles. Not metaphorically, I mean physically turning around like a malfunctioning Roomba. I just couldn't stop. I kept turning and spinning, and I just was bawling, crying, and I whispered to myself over and over again, how did I never see this? How did I not see any of this? The Michael Jordan poster was right there. A William Blake quote, "No bird soars too high if he soars with his own wings." It was right there, and it had been there every day for more than 6 years. The Pikachus, every corner of his room, everywhere I looked, every single space in the house. Pikachu, Pikachu, Pikachu. Electric type, the electricity, the energy, the light. It had always been there, and it came with Kingston. I had just been too exhausted, too overwhelmed, too in survival mode and just too closed off to see it. I had spent 6 hours in that room, not sleeping, not eating, just crying and spinning like I was trying to summon the ghost of common sense. So yeah, I get a little overwhelmed when I talk about it. And I'm not always great at staying on topic either, which is why I have enlisted some backup today. So joining me now is someone who knows me very well, has seen me ugly cry, actually seen me completely lose my mind. I start laughing because you really have seen me completely go apeshit and somehow still
Mhm.
wants to be here. My good friend, brilliant, grounded, and mildly sarcastic, Royce Perkins, who's basically my emotional support human. So here to help me keep this train from flying completely off the tracks, Royce, please save us all.
Hello, glad to be here. Yeah, no, this is very interesting. So, yeah,
So you listened to the dream recollection, yeah?
correct.
And you've kind of been the person I call when one of these aha moments happens, yes?
Yes.
Let's start with the dream. I made you listen to it. Was it weird?
No, it wasn't weird at all. It touched on quite a few different things that's across my mind that I had questions about. It's a situation that I don't know anybody else who has had to go through this.
So, at the very beginning of the podcast, I started talking about soul contracts. And the reason
Mhm.
that the dream was so profound to me was that the medium I had seen literally a week before that had told me that Kingston and I had lived many lifetimes together.
That was my first
And
question,
yeah, and so
was the
that's
lifetimes of losing him, live life with him multiple times thing. Yeah.
yeah. So when we talk about having lived multiple lives, my first question for my favorite medium, Jennifer Schaefer, here in Manhattan Beach, was that how is it possible to have an afterlife and then still be able to connect via a medium if you're in heaven, right? Like, but her answer to that was actually, and the way she said it, so simple. There's no space and time. Time does not apply where he is.
Mhm.
And so when we say we're living many lifetimes, it's simultaneously to the one that we're physically in right now. And that's a whole nother episode, honestly, because I'm not even sure I fully understand it.
Right.
Basically, what I understood that as is it was like the multiverse. If you are into Spider-Man, that's the only way I can describe it, is that it's all happening at the same time. And you brought up something, but before we get into it, I just want to say part of part of the irony in the idea that we have soul contracts, because if you've talked to me lately, then you know that I absolutely believe in soul contracts. And the fact that
Right.
I felt like I knew Kingston before he was born is a testament to that. Yes, we probably did live many lifetimes together. We knew each other before he got here. I knew him. I could talk to him without words. And a lot of parents can say that, but I feel like even my relationship with him is different than the one was with my other two kids. But I cannot stand it when somebody says everything happens for a reason.
Mm.
But here's the thing about soul contracts too, is that when you try to figure out our soul contracts new? No, it's not some new age TikTok trend, right? Hinduism, Buddhism, they all say that we are living, reincarnated lives, and that's to learn the lessons our souls are meant to learn. And when we don't learn those lessons, we do it again, right? Or maybe our soul has a new lesson this time. So when people say everything happens for a reason and I get pissed off, it's actually funny because if they were smart enough, they'd be like, "Well, you're a freaking hypocrite because how is that not the same as having a soul contract where him and I agreed that this is what was going to happen? I knew I was going to lose him because I knew him in heaven. We decided we were going to come here and do that specifically so I could have that emotional breakdown, that I could have that spiritual awakening, and then take this experience to go share it with other people to educate them or introduce them to this new concept, right? Like
Mhm.
that would, I have the craziest goosebumps right now. And I just felt like this crazy gust of wind literally go past my back, and there are no fans on. I just want to point that out. That right now was really creepy.
It's always
So
happening. Always happening with
always,
you.
yes.
I was gonna say, I think, after hearing that, one of the questions that I had was, so knowing that you've had these moments in time where you've lived these lives together and, your soul contracts, and you've had these multiple lives together already, coming into this, I guess, this version of what this life was going to be with him, did you have, or I guess, a knowing that this was going to be where this was going to end, how
You
this
mean
was
with
going to end?
Kingston passing away at 10?
Yeah.
like that piece. So I don't know if I've mentioned it in any of the previous episodes, but I know I've written about it online for sure. So before Kingston was born, I had tried many times to get pregnant with Kingston. So I think it was about 3 years of trying, and I had 7 miscarriages. And the last one was actually an ectopic pregnancy. So I lost my fallopian tube. So that was one out of the two. And you have to have at least one to be able to have kids. So, and you have to have one to be able to have kids, right?
Oh,
What
wow.
happened? Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, but I was an egg donor back in the day. And so I
Mhm.
have actually done a lot of hormonal things and stuff to my female organs that one of them was severely scarred to the point that I only had one functioning one left in the first place. So by the time I had that ectopic pregnancy and they took out that fallopian tube, I was told I could not have any more children, that it was not possible. And so, ironically, 6 months later, I was pregnant with Kingston and he stuck. And then a year later, came Zuma.
Yeah.
So, first of all, whoever did that surgery needs to pay for Zuma's college, because that wasn't supposed to happen, right? Like, I don't know. That
Yeah.
part always gets me.
You cannot have kids at all, too. You're gonna have 2 back to back now.
Not back to back, right? And like the only thing that made sense, and my belief in God was so loose and back and forth my entire life, that when I did get pregnant with Zuma, the first thing I thought was, this is happening for a reason, which is so weird to say. But I said, this is happening for a reason. This is not my plan. She is going to be here because one of us is going to need her. Like, she is
Mm.
needed here. Somebody
Mhm.
is going to need her. Maybe it's not even us. I don't know. But this didn't happen for no reason, right?
Right.
Because I did go back and forth about whether or not that was something that I was capable of handling, because I was in a horribly toxic marriage. Definitely shouldn't have been having another kid at that time, for sure. But I couldn't do anything other than accept the fact that that's what was happening, right? Okay. So fast forward, I have these 2 babies, literally 2 babies, and it was the hardest 3 years of my whole life. And that's even comparing it to losing Kingston. Like, those were very difficult years for sure.
Yeah. They're
Especially
only how many
the
months apart are they?
12 months and 2 days.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, excellent life choices. And then my oldest is 24. So, but we won't talk about that. The thing with Kingston, so when he was born, I wouldn't put him down. I think for the first 6 weeks, I did not let anyone else touch him. I had him right next to me from the moment he was born, and I didn't sleep on purpose. I was in the hospital a couple extra weeks, and they would come in and I would nod off. And as soon as they tried to take him from me, because you can't sleep and hold your baby at the same time, I would jerk myself awake and be like, nope, I'm good. I got it. Don't take him. Don't touch him. And I kept him with me. And
Mm.
I took him everywhere. And there was just this, oh my God, he's here. I was, because I had been trying for so long, and it was so excruciating to lose that opportunity over and over and over, and then be told you're not going to have kids. And then finally, like, there's this real life, an actual miracle, because I'm not supposed to have the parts to be able to even make him, like, that
Right.
is a miracle. And when I say my belief in God was loose, that the miracles that I have seen happen are so profound that the fact that I ever questioned God blows my mind in hindsight. So I'm gonna back up even more, and this is where I get scatterbrained. So you have to keep me on track. But
Mhm.
in 2005, I was in a lot of trouble with drinking, and I had to go to rehab. So how many people do you know go into rehab and come out and never drink again? Like, that's it, one and done. It's all good. I don't know a lot of people who can do that.
No. No.
So I went in, I did my 28 days, I came out, and that was it. Like, I was good. I didn't drink again at all, and it was not a problem. That to me is a miracle. In hindsight, I have watched people go in and out of those doors and they die, and I didn't. That is a freaking miracle, okay? Then, I was going through custody stuff with my oldest, and so many different ways from Sunday, there were miracles presenting themselves in front of my face the whole time, which
Mhm.
in the moment I couldn't recognize, right?
Right.
Because it wasn't exactly what I wanted. But looking back, they were happening over and over and over. And I remember specifically, I was living in my friend's garage with the 2 kids after I had left their dad. And I was talking to somebody on my back patio, and we were facing out to the yard. And I said, God, I don't know how you have this connection, because she was so in tune with God and she could hear his voice. Like, she just heard him loud and clear. I was like, I don't have that. I would give anything for that. And I look over into the garden, there's this cup upside down, and it said, if you're looking for a sign, this is it. I mean, it's so stupid, right? Like, how stupid is that? In that moment, I was like, where did that cup come from? I had never seen that cup. I lived in the garage, so I saw everything that went on in the backyard. And I remember looking at it, and I was like, as I was asking that question, how come I don't hear God's voice? And I see that cup. I'm like, was that it? Is that the sign? So all this time I'm thinking I have no intuition that God is failing me. I'm not good enough for that connection. But if you retrace my steps throughout my life, those things have happened over and over and over again right in front of my face. And I did not see it. And
Yeah.
there were moments of clarity where I was like, yes, this is it. I see God. I accept, like, I'm in. They told me I couldn't have kids. I remember begging God, please, I will do anything. And 6 months later, there he was. I'm like, holy shit, God is real. Because this is a real life freaking miracle, right? 3 years later, Kingston got sick. That miracle that I begged for, that he gave to me, got cancer. And he had a 5% chance of survival. In those first 3 years of his life, Kingston was a complete and total psychopath. I don't know if I ever even said that out loud to anybody, but that little boy was absolutely insane. I used to call him Evil Knievel because the day he learned how to walk, we took him to the beach and we were just going to let him like run through the sand because he could do it, right? So he ran headfirst into the ocean. We turned around for 2 seconds and he was gone. Gone. I was like, what the actual fuck? So I used to say from the time he started walking up until he got sick that he's going to die. Like, there was actually a point where I had a conversation. I said, I don't see him getting any older than 10. With
Mm.
Jaden, I could picture him as an adult getting married, right? With
Yeah.
Zuma, you could just see her going to college. With Kingston, it all just kind of stopped. And I couldn't explain that to anybody. I was like, I don't even want to say it out loud because I don't know what that means because I've seen God-given miracles. Like, he's here. I don't want to say it out loud. But there was one day I had moved into this apartment. I had been in Mexico living in my car. I had been in my friend's garage, and I finally got an apartment. It was me and the kids right after I had left their dad. And it was our first day in this apartment. And I was like, oh my gosh, we did it. And this is, to answer your question finally, did I know this is how it was going to end? I remember we had a 1-bedroom. It's just this
Mhm.
one tiny little space. It was the middle of the day, and the kids were asleep. And I looked up, and in the hallway, in the doorway, there's a man standing in my freaking apartment. And he's not moving, and he's in all black, and it was terrifying. And I
A
look up at
man,
the guy,
a
a man in
figure?
my a man there was a man in my house, and this was the middle of the day. The kids had just fallen
Right.
asleep. And I look up, and he says to me, "I am here for the boy." And I said,
Mm.
"What?" And he goes, "I'm here for the boy." And I'm looking around, how did I not hear this guy come in? And I don't know why my first response was, "What about the girl?" But my question was, "But why him?" And he goes, "I'm just here to tell you, I'm gonna have to take the boy." And then I woke up. And I didn't even
Wow.
realize that I had fallen asleep. It was so real to me that I called 911 because I didn't know if it was real or not. And I actually had forgotten about that dream until Kingston was maybe 3 or 4 months into treatment. I had already been banned from the hospital, and I was texting their dad who was in the hospital with him, and he goes, "Do you remember that text you sent me about the dream you had where the guy came and said he was here for the boy?" And I nearly crapped myself because I was like, "Oh my gosh." Like, I knew this was going to happen. I saw this before.
Mm.
So, did I know? Probably. So, long story short, to answer your question,
Short
I
story
think
long?
so.
Yeah.
This short story long, yes. I think that part of me, somewhere deep down, my subconscious, part of my soul knew. His diagnosis wasn't super shocking. I knew that something was wrong leading up to that. I actually thought he was autistic because he couldn't sit still. He wouldn't touch people anymore. He wouldn't say I love you. He just kind of changed. And it was
Mhm.
obviously the tumor on his brain and in his spine was causing problems, but something in me knew that something about him, and these are the words I remember specifically telling my mom, something about Kingston, he's just different. She goes, "Well, that's not
Right.
very nice." I said, "Mom, I'm telling you, there's something different about him, but I cannot figure out what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but something's up." And she was actually really mad at me and made me feel bad about it. But I wasn't wrong at all. One, he was sick, and he was next level connected to God. He used to talk about how he talked to God all the time. So To answer your question, I think part of me did for sure know that it was going to happen. When he first got diagnosed, I knew in my heart of hearts that he was going to survive it. There was no one that could tell me he was not going to survive. They said he had a 5% chance of living. And I'm like, no, dude, he's going to be fine. I don't know where it came from, but I believed it to my core.
Yeah.
When he got diagnosed the second time, the first thought that went through my head is, this is it. He's done. We're done. And how do I tell him he's going to die? I remember specifically, I heard this voice in my head, you don't have to tell him, he already knows. Those thoughts happened to me a lot. I used to think, up until very recently, that those thoughts are just me letting my mind spiral. But I don't believe that anymore. It's something different.
Yeah, it's not just some random voice in your head.
No, I literally thought it was me going crazy, spiraling out ADHD, but it's not. That is my connection to God.
Yeah.
Think about this. If I think I'm crazy hearing my own voice, how do you think I would have reacted if I heard an external man's voice? He's gonna be fine. I would have committed myself to a mental hospital. God cannot present himself to me in the way that my friend was hearing him. She could hear God's voice and feel his presence. And I was like, I don't have that. But if I had had that, I would have absolutely committed myself to a mental institution.
Yeah, it's
Does
very
that make
interesting. One thing that you mentioned that I thought was very profound when you think about the full circle of things is you mentioned when you were living at your friend's the garage with the kids, right? And you were saying
Mhm.
you were looking for a sign. And wait, you said there was a cup there,
Yep.
and that sign came on a mug, a cup.
It was a coffee mug. So the yard at my friend's house was pretty gross. They had dogs and they didn't really clean up the
Mm.
backyard. And because I was living in the garage, the kids would just go right out to the yard. Funny story, but Kingston used to poop in the yard because he's like, well, that's what the dogs do. I was potty training and we didn't have access to the bathroom at night. It's a long story. It just makes it sound so much worse than it
Yeah,
is, but
yeah,
But it wasn't as bad as it sounds, but it wasn't good either. But I had cleaned up the yard maybe like the day before that. So we were out in the backyard, and I know for a fact that freaking mug was not there because I had cleaned everything. So for it to be there, that was weird.
and the print on it literally
If you're looking for a sign, this is it.
really. That's
Uh-huh. And even then I was like, huh, I wonder.
right. No, well, the reason why the whole cup thing, mug thing comes to mind for me because of the conversation that we had a while back when describing Kingston's way of thinking about things as be glass half full kind of kid. So it was just kind of interesting that there was a complete random mug,
Oh, I never even thought of that.
like a mug
Holy
that was
crap.
way back then.
A
So it's like,
mug.
and then,
That's funny.
and it's like, you're looking for a sign. This
Dude,
is
do you know
it.
how many
And it's,
different Wow. Do you know how many different ways I can tell you that something from 20 years ago that didn't make sense at the time? It's gonna make me cry. Fuck. It happens all the time
yeah.
where I'm like, wow, that was so long ago. It didn't make sense then, but it makes sense now. You and me have talked about this before. Even the day after Kingston died, when you put me on the phone with that person that I was super excited to talk to,
Mhm.
I had been telling Kingston for so long because okay, I'm just going to be honest here. I would social media look for that person and then try to figure out what are they doing? Are they,
Uh-huh.
I had to know.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously there was nothing, and you
Stalking.
and me only
It's
connected.
real.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. Okay, so I was a stalker, but there's nothing to find. So can you really call it that? I don't know. Okay, I don't even know if I should put this in the podcast, but there was
Say it
a
and you can
point.
clip it.
Okay, so there was a point, I wanna say around January, because he didn't when did he pass away?
July.
July? Okay, so yeah, it was actually right around Christmas. That person, who I hadn't heard from in, 18 years, magically is on social media now, and I don't know why, but one day I started looking for them, and they were there, and I didn't even have to do anything, they were liking my stuff. Every morning, I would see that they were hearting my
Mhm.
posts. So I was like, "Oh my freaking gosh, Kingston," and we would be on our way to treatment, and so I told him the story about just how everything went down or whatever, and he goes, "Oh," and he'd listen. I was like, "He's gonna tell me he loves me. He's gonna come back one day. He's gonna tell me he missed me so much and how much he loves me." And I told Kingston that every single day. And so it was kind of a joke because Zuma, Kingston, and I were going to radiation, and every day on the way to treatment, they got anything new from blah 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 blah. And I was like, as a matter of fact, they liked this
Mhm.
today. And I would just light up. And so for Kingston, he watched how happy I would get when that would happen. You know what I mean? He paid really close attention to the things that I'm gonna freaking cry. God damn it. But he just knew me. And so after he died, it was so crazy to me that I had connected with you the month before he
Right.
passed, and that you called me the day after he died, and that you're this person's best friend, and that you came and saw me, and that person was on the phone. And that person said every single thing that I told Kingston that he was going to say. Now, what are the fucking chances of that after 20 years? How does that happen? How does that happen?
Right. Very divine
The
timing.
day after Kingston
Yeah.
died. The only person who knew that I wanted that were my children. I didn't tell anybody because I don't want anybody to find out because I don't want it to stop. I was so thrown by that person reaching out the day after Kingston died. For about the first 3 months after Kingston died, I wasn't really focused on the sadness of losing Kingston. I was distracted by the excitement of that person being around.
Right.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
absolutely.
And when my son died, one of the last things he said to me was, I just want you to be happy.
Yeah.
And I don't think that anything else would have distracted me and made me as comforted as that person circling back around would have. There was nothing else that could have distracted me that way. I didn't cry myself to sleep at night because I actually slept like a freaking baby for like the first
I
2
remember
weeks
that.
after he died
Yeah.
because,
I
right?
remember
Like
that. And you were
I hadn't
saying that
slept
you had slept really well and
that hadn't happened in so
right. Well, and
long.
we had talked about that specifically as to what that could be. And that was his way of saying, hey, look, you've done so much for me for the last, decade. Hey, get some sleep finally. Get some rest. Good, I'm okay. It'd be great if you could get some sleep now, you know?
Because that whole last week, I don't think I slept at
No,
all, like at all.
no.
But yeah, that person calling me, it was just enough. Like it did something to my soul. I was just comforted by it. That was what I needed. And I fell asleep. And the next thing I know, Kingston is standing there talking to me. I was already on the verge of a spiritual cracking kind of thing. That dream kind of validated everything that I thought that I was going through. So I am certain that Kingston sent that person back around for a reason. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Dream. I've only had the one dream. I'm not going to lie. I wish that guy would call me again because it was like the missing link. I went to see Jennifer on Sunday and I was really hoping that he would reach out so I could literally reenact the whole thing because that's the last thing that happened before I had the dream last time and it didn't happen, but whatever. So the whole thing at the beginning of this was soul contracts and that we literally do serve a purpose when we get here. So as far as soul contracts go, yeah, the whole everything happens for a reason. It may just not be the right thing to say to somebody who's grieving because it sounds dismissive, but there might actually be some truth to it.
Yeah. And I feel like it's a very kind of cliche thing to say, you know what I mean?
It sounds shitty if you're somebody who just lost their son. It sounds like the dumbest thing you can say.
Absolutely.
But if I'm talking about soul contracts and that Kingston and I agreed to come here because this is the lesson that we're supposed to learn this time, that I said, okay, deal, let's do it, that I committed to this, then that indeed would imply that there was a reason.
Right.
There's a whole nother level to that, something called the twin flame. I want to say it's like a soulmate kind of thing, but you're twin flame and you don't always end up together. Have you ever looked into that? It's probably new to you that I'm
Twin
bringing this
flame
one
is
up
new to
'cause-
me.
Okay, so if I'm talking about soul contracts, I want to talk about twin flames too, because there are certain people in your soul family
Mm.
that you are meant to interact with in the lifetime to achieve your higher purpose, your higher self, right? So if we're talking about twin flames, not soulmates, we're not talking about like the one, we're talking about twin flames. And so it's a person who will show up in your life like a wrecking ball. Now, when I tell you this, you're going to be like, huh, yeah, that's that person for sure. So there's a person who shows up in your life and they're like a giant wrecking ball and they're wearing this familiar face. And it's someone who manages to trigger like the deepest abandonment wound and your sexual awakening all in the same sentence. Sound familiar? Does it? I don't know. I mean, because I feel like you used to bring this person to my house for one of two things, either to fight or to do something else. But according to spiritual theory, and I say theory because let's be real, it's not exactly like this peer reviewed science, but a twin flame is basically one soul they say is split into two. And you're each walking around with half of the same cosmic identity, which sounds super cute in theory until you actually meet them. And suddenly your nervous system is on
Mhm.
fire. You can't eat. You question your entire childhood and you're journaling about divine timing while sobbing into a crumpled Post-it note. He subsequently blocked me. Let's just put it out there so everybody knows where that stands right
Mhm.
now. Is that I am currently blocked. There's a thing called energetic stalking, which I think is what I did to get him to connect in the first place. Like when you send that out there and think
Yeah.
about it, how many times have you thought about somebody and when you're thinking about them, they send you a
Absolutely,
message,
all the time. Yep,
right?
you run it, you see 'em,
And
you all of a sudden, you get a text
and
message.
then you can't get them out of your life because you thought about them a couple times,
Right.
right? So for that person to call me and say the exact same things, because I haven't gotten him out of my head in 20 years and he should be wiped the fuck out by now. There's no reason for him to still be in my head, but I can't. I cannot get rid of it. And I feel like that person's not meant to not be in my life. For whatever reason, I don't know what it is, but they're not meant to be estranged. And I hate it because there's nothing I can do about it. But after I got blocked, I wrote this post about divine timing. So when I say that's cute in theory, and then you have to Google and journal about divine timing, after I talked to him and he blocked me, the first thing I did was write the blog post about divine timing. So basically what it is that they mirror you, the good, the bad, and all of the unresolved trauma. And you know him very well,
Mhm.
right? And you know me very well. So I mean, we have a lot of similarities in our background, like dad issues, right? And toxic relationships. Like granted, his loss was a sibling, not a child,
Right.
but that loss is linear,
Right.
right? It's very similar. All of it. You feel so drawn to them like it's gravity, but it's not calm, cuddly kind of love. It's how the hell did you walk into my life, blow everything up that I thought I knew about myself kind of love. And twin flames aren't about settling down and you get a Costco membership and you pop out babies. Twin flames are about waking
But
the fuck up. And it requires a bunch of chaos. And then usually there's a period of great separation with twin flames. And
hmm,
maybe, or if you're lucky, or cursed, depending on how you look at it,
right.
depending on the day and divine timing, there's a reunion.
Hmm.
And even the reunions are not always the forever. But the truth that nobody says out loud is the reunion isn't the goal for twin flames. Growth is. And sometimes your twin flame isn't meant to stay in your life. They're meant to shake your soul loose, to crack your ego open and remind you of what you forgot and who the hell you really are underneath all of the survival mode. So twin flames, they basically set your whole world on fire, but sometimes they set on fire the shit that needed to burn. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That was a lot, right?
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm processing all that because it's very interesting. Because 'cause I'm trying to give thought to who in my life, who's my twin flame. I don't think I know of a person or have one. So I'm trying to put that comparison.
It sounds nuts.
No, we don't. Sound nuts.
The twin flame stuff is so on point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, especially with the person I'm referring to. Can you deny that any of that is not
No,
true?
that's very true.
Like all of it is true. So you don't think I'm crazy.
There's not much that we talk about or whatever comes to thought for you never ever sounds crazy because it's something, somehow, some way of the universe and these things talking to you and give some kind of guidance. It all has some type of relativity to it, regardless if it's something that's here present in front of us or it's something that's talking to you from wherever else in the universe. It all adds up. To me at least. I never think it sounds crazy. Oh,
You don't.
no, not at all.
It's interesting because I will preface these conversations with new people I sit down to talk to. This might sound crazy, but I'm actually genuinely surprised how many other people are into the woo woo.
This is all very real. In my
And I appreciate you saying that because I thought it was something that people were going to be like, whoa, she's just this grieving mom who's completely lost her mind and so desperate for something to hold
No,
on to.
not at all. That's what I say. This is all very real to me.
The fact that after 18 years, this guy came back around right after Kingston died, it's proof that Kingston or somebody or God, whatever you want to call it, someone from the other side was sending me that information to tell me, girl, you're not wrong. This is real. It's all true. That's part of the divine timing and the lessons that we're supposed to learn. If I got everything I wanted when I wanted it, I'm not going to work on myself whatsoever because I want to help fix other people. Everything that sounds like a great idea to me, it's usually not for me. You know me well enough. Let's say that person did stick around and give me attention. Would I be sitting here doing this project?
No.
Let's say that person flew down here and was like, I'm going to hang out. We're going to do this. We're going to make it work. Would I have learned anything I've learned in the last 9 months?
No, not at all.
Would I work on myself at
No,
all?
because your head would be up his ass.
Hey, that sounds so gross the way you say it. I was about to be homeless, didn't have a job. My kid had just died. Bad timing, right? What good would I have served anyone in that space at all? Not just him, but anybody
Right.
else. None. So I know I don't get what I want until I can trust the process and divine timing. It's not up to me.
Yeah, because the biggest project that you have right now is really you.
Myself,
It's
for
you know,
sure.
it's I feel like Kingston left you a pretty good list of things to try to start getting accomplished in his name and sake. Yeah.
Yeah, because how long is the list of my projects?
So
I'm an ideas person, not execution. Execution is an issue.
yeah, yeah, we're working on that though.
Well, that's why we need you.
I guess this will be day one then. How about that?
Maybe my lesson this time was you're going to believe in God, and with that big loud mouth that never shuts the fuck up, maybe you'll tell people about God. Maybe you'll use it for something purposeful.
How many more
And
signs do you
maybe,
need?
right? It's painful. You're getting slapped in the face with the answer. It's like a frozen fish. Bam, bam, bam. You don't see the fish. It's so stupid. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
How many different ways from Sunday do you need to see a miracle before you're like,
No, it's a
miracles
miracle.
happen and God is probably real?
Right. The Lord is expecting you to have that faith without needing all these extra signs. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, so true.
Hey, I do plenty for you if you just pay a little attention.
That
You
part.
know, the most important person that we need to get out of our way each day is ourselves.
Ugh. Dude, I know. I'm such a major force in my own world. If people think I'm extra in their world, can you imagine how I feel in my own head?
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a lot. I know I'm a lot. I get overwhelmed by
Yeah.
myself.
I hear about it all the time.
Well, at least somebody answers the phone. You're saving so many people.
I'm on the phone while when overwhelming
I'm
is
about to
happening.
give them your email so they can send you thank you letters. Thank you. She stopped calling.
Oh, get out of here.
Their prayers were answered.
But yeah, back to what we we're talking about with the whole thing being presented in all these forums. You're slowly, coming around.
It's been a slow awakening for sure. Like when you wake up from anesthesia, everything is still blurry and you're like, wait, is this real life? Did I say anything embarrassing? That's where I'm at right now.
You're good. Drop the mic.
You're funny. So you better come back because we are definitely not done talking about twin flames, the fires they start, or whether or not I'm supposed to put it out or burn with it.
All right, I'm down. You got me.
Yay, you heard him. He promised to come back. Not to make fun of me though, right?
There'll be some of that always.
Good times. All right. This was just the beginning.
There were some other things that we talked about briefly. Things about energy and vibes and positivity, and how people manage that for themselves day to day. That I think we still need to touch on as well.
For sure. We're going to need like
Oh,
a
yeah.
to-do list.
Lots of
Uh,
energy.
like-
Lots of energy to talk
we're,
about.
we're going to need a lot of time for that
Mhm.
one. I'm going to need to bring all of the things it takes to make that my to-do list. My boxes don't get checked very quickly, so it's going to take a while.
Right.
It's a tutorial. What's that?
No, you're on the right track. Tutorial.
I think I'm having a stroke. A tutorial, but how long does it take you to teach me to do one thing and for me to get it down?
Right.
And then in the meantime, Royce, you have homework. Who is your twin flame? That's what I want to know.
Who is my twin flame?
Yeah, you have homework, so come back with
Yeah,
that.
I got to do.
You're
deep
gonna have to. I mean, I feel like if you had one, it would pop out at you. It should
See-
be unmistakable.
Well, and this is kind of something that I think segues into the whole energy and kind of laws of attraction, which is a whole another part of that whole other thing too. So, I'm gonna do some research.
Oh, so you don't think you attract crazy?
No, I don't. I don't attract.
You
that
don't
kind
think
of
so?
energy.
Not ever
No.
in your life. Never.
I didn't say not ever. I did not say not ever because I've had a couple of
Wait, so
girlfriends.
you've just gone through this whole life completely unscathed, huh?
No, I didn't say that. So, okay, all right. Now that you mentioned that, I get to thinking
Because
about
I
something.
do know some things. I don't know if I was drunk, but I wasn't blacked out.
Okay, I don't know what you okay, see, this is where the episode stops.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Long story short, soul contracts. Everything might just happen for a reason. Let's just not say it to our friends who are grieving. But yeah, if we believe in soul contracts and those twin flames, then in fact, everything may actually serve its purpose. On that note, we are officially out of time. If you want more, there's a blog on the website with stories that go even deeper. Stuff I didn't say out loud or couldn't. And also, Zuma's Magical Balloon, my children's book about love, loss, and letting go, will go live this week on Amazon. I will post the link on social media as soon as it's up, so do follow and keep an eye out. It's sweet, it's sad, and full of magic, just like my kiddos. If you enjoyed this and you are still floating in your own post-soul contract haze, come find us. Follow The Afterwards on Instagram, TikTok, or head over to theafterwards.co. We are on all of the platforms, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, you name it. Tap it, follow it, hit it, subscribe to it. Just do the thing. You'll find us. We are the ones lighting matches in the dark and pretending that we're just fine. Talk soon or sooner if the universe says so.